Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kriston H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Tuesday, February the 11th here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pachesney, Kriston Harris, and we almost lost our guest today. We were a little worried about that, so we're running a little bit behind. But we do have our guest. We're going to be talking with Scottie Hochstetter about jury nullification. He got in a little bit of a trouble, and we'll get into that. It has to do with some cannabis and things of that nature.
Yeah, Mike was sweating bullets before. He's like, "Where's the guest? I don't know what to do. Where's the guest? Or I guess we're gonna have open lines." I was like, "Just relax, Mike."
Right. Well, we got to make sure the show goes on, so we have to continuously be running things all the time. You know what I'm saying?
And then with enough time to spare, problem solved.
And here we are. It's just like it just happens to work out, and we are very grateful. And we'll be talking to Scottie soon. And it looks like I got the number on my face, so I'm gonna take that off the screen there. But anyway, before we get into all that, Kriston, we want to get into the sponsors and stuff.
Sure. If you guys haven't had a chance to yet, make sure you guys head on down to the rundownlive.com to check out the latest in news and information. We have new articles up there almost every day. Make sure you guys share them. Add us on Facebook. You can find us also on Twitter and on YouTube. If you're looking to support the Rundown Live, you can do so by clicking on the banner while you're visiting our site and checking out Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access is a tool that Mike and I use to surf the internet anonymously. It basically allows us to search our emails, bank statements, and download anonymously. Not only that, it allows us to post anonymously. So it also gives us the ability to avoid things like Reddit bans, and if you're a gamer bans. So for $39.95, you can cover 5 computers. And when you do make that purchase, part of that purchase supports what we do here, so we really appreciate it. Very beneficial tool. Me and Mike, we get by using it every day.
Yeah, and then the 5 computers, that's a huge thing. So,
well, I think right now I'm in Japan, Mike, just so everyone knows.
Right,
based on
and I do want to point out that if you see this black part on the bottom of the screen here, if you're watching in the live stream, they actually have the todayWeFightBack.org, message, which is a dedication to Aaron Swartz, and basically fighting back against the NSA, government spying, and there's a big internet movement today. And of course, what site do you see it on? Private Internet Access, because they're trying to help us out, guys. They're not one of the enemy per se. They're trying to fight back.
Privacy is freedom. That's how we can maintain all our Second Amendment rights, all our amendment rights for that factor, because, I never understood the whole fact that they need to spy on all of us to keep us safe from terrorists, and they haven't caught a single terrorist or prevented a single terrorist act.
Don't forget about our awesome app that's fully caught up, by the way. The app is on Droid, iPhone, iTunes, Play Store, Amazon, all that good stuff.
And it's free, so make sure you guys get on down to those stores on your phone and download them, and we really appreciate it. If you guys rate them, feel free to. You guys can even email us from the app. We should probably talk about the app for just a split second here. You can actually email us, go straight to our website, and you can download past episodes, so you can listen to them at your convenience. So it's an awesome tool. Download it to your friends' phones. Let people know they can hear the Rundown Live at their convenience. We're on TuneIn if you want to listen live. No better way to talk to us than in the chat room on therundownlive.com/live. And we're also on Stitcher for those people who use Stitcher.
And then always can't forget about TuneIn, because TuneIn is like one of the best ways people listen to us on the fly. If they can't hang out in the live stream chat, which is rundownlive.com/live, that's where everybody likes to hang out and talks to us in the chat. But anyway, when it comes to Scottie, I've known him, via the activist community for a while. And, he's not the kind of guy that makes waves. He's not like the Adam Kokesh type that's going to go out and, cause some kind of controversy, none of that kind of stuff. But he is definitely educated on what's going on. and he got in a little trouble. Let's say he had a garden, and the garden led him into getting in a little trouble. And he's in Illinois, I believe. And we can get into this with him once he's on the show.
It was sassafras root. He was going to make root beer, Mike.
Right.
Sassafras root, which, you know, they say is very similar, I guess, to another plant we've heard of called
but that's
cannabis.
not, you know, yes.
Well,
you could say that's what it was, but we all know what it really was.
He was making root beer. I believe it.
I know.
Just really, really strong, you know, homemade, organic root beer.
Hey, Scottie, this is Mike and Kristan. You're on there. How you doing,
How
man?
you doing, Scottie?
I'm doing good. And yourself, guys?
As good as we can be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cold over here too.
Well, right, you're just to the south of us, right? You're not like too far out of the Milwaukee area, Chicagoland area.
Yeah, well, I'm about an hour and 45 minutes from you guys.
Right, so you know what's up around this area. So basically, we're just giving you a brief introduction to the audience, kind of letting them know that, you know, you're not generally known as like an Adam Kokesh type going out and causing all kinds of trouble. You know, you've been involved in the activist community, and you've always been involved on Facebook, YouTube, and stuff like that. But why don't you just give us a little synopsis of what occurred recently? You had a little operation, and you got into a little trouble, and then it led you to the nullification stance. So why don't you give us a little background on that stuff, and then we could talk about the nullification.
All right. Well, I had a bunch of plants growing in the house and on the outside of the house and the neighbors. Police said that the cable guy had spotted them. So the police came, and there was all sorts of things that happened. They said that we said the cops were next door. We stated facts. So that was what gave them probable cause to a reasonable suspicion to come onto the property. When they came in, they said I was in a shower. They said that I wasn't answering in time and that they were concerned about my safety. They told my roommate that they were checking for guns. So they came in without a warrant, and then pretty much said that they were going to rip down all the drywall in the house if I didn't sign a confession. So it wasn't my house, so I signed the confession. They claimed that there was a pipe in plain view, which there was no pipe, which is one of the biggest things I've been fighting. So I ended up getting charged with a Class 4 felony, which I was between 5 and 20 plants. So that's the next charge up above a misdemeanor. It carries a 3-year max, $25,000 in fines. The plea bargain was a month in jail in county and $17,000 in fines. They have in Illinois, they have a street value of the plants. So every plant has a street value of $2,000. So every plant, they could charge you $2,000 for a fine.
And this is in a state that already has taken legal measures.
Were these farmed, or were these just naturally in your backyard? So I have to ask.
Yeah, they were farmed in my house.
Oh.
So I had a couple different rooms in my house. If you really get into the growing, you have 3 different rooms, so you always have a cycle coming out every couple months. So I was growing all my made up aeroponic systems. I was brewing up my own fertilizers organically. So I was pretty big into it. I had a couple 1,000-watt metal halides and all sorts of different things. The water that my plants had was better than the water that I was drinking.
I believe that. It probably didn't have fluoride in it.
Yeah.
With the reverse osmosis and everything. So, and then I started getting nervous. I was working on a house for rent via Craigslist. And so I was getting nervous that the landlord was going to find the plants. I put them outside. I had them split in 5s. That's misdemeanor categories. And my roommate just happened to put them all together. And I didn't stand up and say, hey, you can't put them together. And it cost me. So I ended up taking the blame for the plants. My roommate still got charged with 5, a misdemeanor, but I took the.
You're taking the majority of the blunt here, the brunt end. But let's talk about this a little bit, because I have a few issues. Our number one issue is, what's up with the cable guy? When did he become NSA secret agent, man? You know what I mean?
According to AJ Alex Jones, he was saying in one of his shows a couple years ago that they get $100 every time they turn somebody in. So I don't know. I don't know if that was the case. He just told the neighbor. My neighbor. The neighbor was like 90, so she called the police. They didn't know that it was mine. So it was a bunch of bullshit how they came into the house. I mean, it was completely illegal. What I found out is it doesn't matter what the law says. It's whatever they want to do at the time.
Yeah, especially once they come inside and, work their intimidation.
Who was the victim in your crime, by the way? I'm trying to...
Absolutely no victim. There's no victim, no losses, no damages, and no contract, which would be the only other way that they would be able to get me in court. So I've learned a lot about the law since I've been arrested, because I had originally went with a lawyer, and it was like $1,000 retainer fee, then you wanted $2,500 just for the first motion to suppress evidence, but he wouldn't argue during nullification, because they're not allowed, the lawyers aren't really allowed to question the law.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this a second. Did you obviously you must have brought it up to him, right?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know about it right when I first retained him, and then when my friends had linked me to New Jersey Weed Man's case, and he's like, check out the Weed Man case, so I tracked him down online. I emailed him on YouTube. I found his YouTube account. I emailed him, and he ended up calling me and talking to me for an hour and a half. And see, what he did was he had the Public Defender Assistant Counsel, which we're guaranteed that through the Sixth Amendment. We have that right to assistance of counsel. So, but he had it so that he did the opening and closing statements and the voir dire. Voir dire is the jury selection, like asking them questions and everything. But then had the public defender do the cross-examinations of the witnesses, because there's a little more, you need a little more knowledge of the law when you're questioning, and in terms of what you could object to and what you could say. All the lower courts are not courts of law; it's just courts of fact. You can only question the law when you get into the appeals courts, which a lot of people don't understand, and they don't talk about that often. But so there's difference in the lower court; it's just facts. So he had that assistance of counsel. I tried. So the lawyer didn't want to do that. So I called a bunch of different other lawyers, and they wanted anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to do the case. And it's like, I'm already out thousands of dollars. A 19 plants, 7 foot tall. That was a lot of weed.
Yeah, seriously.
So the lesson learned is you got to move to Colorado.
Well, yeah, that would be easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be the lesson learned. Move to Colorado or Washington. Stay legal here.
Yeah, but the thing is, in those states, you're paying taxes on it, which it's medicine. If you really get down to the, all the uses that it be used for. But hello?
Yeah,
we're here.
You still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. But there's still guys in like California, Jason Andrews, he's going for a nullification. He's a licensed grower, and he has a card and everything, and they're still charging him. They won't verify the cards. So they're still going after those guys. To me, it's almost like I'd rather be down low and undercover than on the radar, because once you're on the radar, the feds are still going after people. So I hear that quite often, like, just move to Colorado, and you can't even grow in Washington. It's not.
And it's a lot easier said than done. Let's just face it. Why should we have to move to grow a plant to begin with? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous what happens. We talk about marijuana specifically a lot on this show, and I'm sure most listeners are aware on my take, and even Kristan, you feel the same way, that people should at least have a choice. I mean, this mandating shit is ridiculous. Nobody can have it.
I think it's not just with marijuana. I think it's with vaccination and anything you want to put inside of your body, that you should be able to make that decision for yourself, and that things should not be mandated or they shouldn't have to force you to take anything. You should be able to
think about
choose
it.
what's right
grows
for
out
you.
of the ground. Imagine
I may
if
never
the vaccine grew out of the ground.
There's things like that. Well, there's mushrooms that would kill you too, and you don't want to be eating those.
Shouldn't that be
too.
your choice?
Yes, but that should be your choice. If you're dumb enough to eat the mushroom and die, then you probably,
Right, exactly.
Right,
I mean,
but,
people do stupider things every day.
I'm saying with things though like marijuana that have been proven less harmful than alcohol, that it's ridiculous to criminalize the youth and build a larger prison system and have more courts. That's not conservative. That's more government. And in my opinion, that it may not be for me or for somebody else I may know, but it might be for somebody else who might need it for anxiety, or they have stomach problems, or those individuals should be left up to those choices. I think there'd be a lot less of these prescription drugs out there like Oxycontin, Oxycodone,
out of control,
which is out of control. But they don't want you to use marijuana, which we had pastors and reverends from churches saying that they don't understand what the problem is with the police and the government. Yeah.
Well, no, those people are coming out and starting to say, listen, it's about time that we get rid of these prohibition type laws. And I understand that, Scottie, you're going with the nullification stance, and we've talked nullification. We've talked about nullification in the states' right sense, and we've talked about nullification in the jury sense. And now you're taking it towards the court, right? That's what you want to do. You want to educate people about nullification so you can try to have your case nullified, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday I almost got arrested.
Oh, yeah, I saw your Facebook post. What happened with that?
I was there for 3 minutes, and the sheriff was out, the guys that search you. He was out in 3 minutes. I probably passed out maybe 20 flyers. I had a box sent from James Babb in New York. He sent a big box of nullification flyers, and the guys came out. He said it was private property, the courthouse, and that I was soliciting. So I know it's not. I know it's not private property. So, but the solicitation, I came back to the house because I was like, next week I'm going. I need to get some people with me with a video camera. They do whatever they want to do, even in the court. Like, it doesn't matter what the law is or what the Constitution says. It's just they intimidate and harass. If you don't have a video camera or anything, they just pretty much steamroll you.
Well, yeah, you have seen it. I know you're probably aware of the Mountain Man who's been in trial the last few months. Yeah, and he's screaming at the judge, and things are just like, it kind of exposes both sides of it, how they just kind of are used to doing things their way. And then I also saw you were a fan of Santos Bonacci, who's been on our show before, and he's another guy who's really good at educating people just about the way the court system works and what it all actually represents. Do you have any thoughts on any of that type of information?
Yeah, there's two routes to go. There is a route of sovereignty, not sovereign citizen. People mix that up a lot. You can't be both. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. So you could do the route of sovereign, question the jurisdiction of the courts. You could question that there's no corpus delicti, which is no victim, no losses, no damages, because in criminal court that you have to have that. So to me, like nullification, I came in going nullification, but as I studied the law and I saw the indictment said that it was the municipal corporation of the state that was suing me. So all this stuff that they're saying, the sovereign people are saying that it's a corporation, that's truth. And it wasn't until I saw that on my paper that I was like, all right, now I got to start looking at these posts about the birth certificate and this and that. So to me, the nullification is the easier route for the general public. The sovereignty, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of knowing. You have to know jurisdiction, that the courts really don't have jurisdiction over you. And, they really don't. But I tried some of that and I got steamrolled because I didn't know. There's a lot to know when it comes to. There's all sorts of different references. 1913, when the Fed came into play, some say it goes back to then. Others say it was the 1850s, the court case with the railroads. So and then your name. There's so much to it. The Mountain Man, that guy he pretty much is a classic example of all he was doing was fishing. Why do you need a license for that? Why does the state have to be involved? So I find it pretty interesting. It's a good look at it. And in Santos yesterday, he just got released out of jail, and he did a nice interview with the media. It's kind of giving the general guidelines to that. So.
Hey, I lost my mic there. Sorry about that for one.
No, it's okay.
So you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to fix. Sorry about that.
You sound like you're calling from NASA, Mike. You're like, the ship's gonna launch in about 8, 7.
Is my sound too loud right now?
You sound like you're screaming at us, Mike.
I lost.
But yeah, I actually spoke with or chatted with Santos Bonacci just the other day, commending him a lot about his. He did a little soapbox speech about the corruption of government, and he gave a very interesting speech. And I just told him, it was really awesome that he's stepping up, and that more people of critical thought need to speak up and speak out against this whole tyrannical system that we have going right now. Because let's take a look at the facts. No one was really injured. We don't treat alcoholics like that. When an alcoholic is an addict or he's sick, we don't put them in prison. It doesn't make sense that we would criminalize our youth so 20 years from now they can't get a job over smoking a doobie, which right now is all the rage between 48 and 60. I guess that's the largest age group of marijuana users. The baby boomers are refalling in love with their previous passion, I hear.
That's almost hard to believe in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, back then it was the thing during the hippie age, 69.
It's like the thing like now, though, really.
Yeah, the dabs too. The dabs are getting hot.
Whatever that means. Oh, wait, did you say dabs with a D-A-B-S? Dab?
Yeah, dabs. It's like it's their vaping, the vape pen.
Right, we've talked about those. Right.
I've seen that at restaurants where people will be like, this is THC, and it comes out smelling like potpourri, and I'm like, what's going on? Is that the stuff that they need on bars? Is that the stuff that they need a blowtorch to make? Because I think that's a little extreme.
That's it.
Well, there's different types. You have the hash oil. You have the hash wax. You have just regular weed that you could vape. So there's different levels of it. You could vape just regular weed.
I just thought that using a blowtorch is just way too extreme. Whatever happened just to a lighter and a doobie,
Yeah, well, that's a different type of vape. That's the blowtorch ones are different. These have an ionizer inside the vape pen, so it's slightly different. I know what you're talking about. That's just it's a different style of vapors, I guess. And I don't know if that's healthy or whatnot. I'm not really into it. There's
a blowtorch involved. I can guarantee you, it's probably not healthy for you.
Don't you remember
just
when we
throwing that out there? I could be wrong.
We had T-Kid on from Vice, and he was letting us know about the dabbing, and he said the people were so trendy now that if it wasn't a dab, they wouldn't smoke it at all. It just wasn't cool anymore,
It's very trendy, especially they're like $70, $80, and I got my friends. They're so trendy. That's the best way to describe it.
Well, and they can use it in public. The police have no idea that.
There's a difference between the vapes and the dabs, though. You can use the vapes maybe in public, but you can't really be dabbing in public.
Well, I don't know what a dab even looks like, so I guess I'll have to Google what a dab is.
The dab you got to use like a bong with, right?
I'm not sure. I just keep whatever. Just hand it to me. I'm gonna smoke it.
That sounds like a horrible idea.
We don't have it. We don't have it really in this area as much. I know people get it, but it's way more common in Denver and California where they have legalization. You know what I mean? Because they can have stuff like that. When they had the 420 Fest in Denver last year, whatever it was, they were passing out free dabs. Remember, we had Chris Custer on from Denver, We Are Change, Colorado, and he said he took a dab so fat that he literally passed out at the festival or whatever. So, I mean, it definitely happens. And that sucks. When you were talking about Santos Bonacci and the other stuff, my dang mic cut out, and I had a couple issues there. So hopefully we got that squared up. I know my audio is probably a little effed up now, but hopefully,
it sounds good.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. So anyway, going back to like the nullification stance and stuff, I think people really need to know that this is even an option, specifically when there's crimes or so-called crimes in quotations committed when there is no victim. You know what I mean? Some of these tickets that you even get where there is no victim, people need to understand that there's a lot of things that can be attacked with this jury nullification, and the more people that are aware of it, the more times you're going to see it come up in court cases and things of this nature. It's not something that people even know about, and you're talking about passing out the flyers and they ran you out of there like within 3 minutes. I mean, that just sounds, you know, the usual. That's how Gestapo run their territories, you know?
Yeah. Well, the whole system will come crumbling down if people know about nullification. To me, nullification is it's the best way to fight the state. There's no other way that you could single-handedly fight the state alone and actually create change other than nullification. Because you're setting up the courts for precedents, and they don't really care about previous court cases. The judge does whatever he wants. But it's more or less that once people know about it and the juries know, and then people start actually going to jury duty instead of trying to get out of it, that's when things are going to change. That's how the Prohibition changed, the Slave Acts, that's how that changed. That's where our freedom of speech came from. Our freedom of press came through jury nullification. The raw milk farmers out in Wisconsin by you guys, or Minnesota, wherever that case.
Yeah,
I believe there's
Vernon
two cases.
Hirschberger, yeah, sure. Also in Wisconsin, we have history nullification. Slavery was nullified here. So that was very interesting. We're the only state, I believe, to nullify slavery.
Yeah, we learned that from Tom Woods and Mike
Woods.
Maharrey, the 10th Amendment Center, right? And they actually had a whole presentation on that. That was pretty interesting. You know, it's like they don't really teach you that part of history in school, you know?
No, not at all.
We don't really
Not
learn
at
much
all.
of anything in school now that I think about it.
Nothing.
Well, and how much of it is even correct or valid today, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I mean, they taught us to be young, free, and critical thinkers, and these new kids, they teach them how to think, and they tell them that they belong to a community, not an individual. So who do they call mommy?
Well, let me
do they
bring
all
this
have
up.
identity complexes their whole life?
I just saw a worksheet from a college level sociology class, and the top of the worksheet was globalization. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, let me see this. And I started looking through it, and it's all about, like, is globalization good or bad? And it was like a 6-page article from, like, National Geographic. And then the teacher is asking at the end of this 6-page article, you know, why is globalization a good thing? And I actually read the entire article, and it said things like the person who wrote the article went overseas and asked Chinese people, like, why do you go to McDonald's? And they were getting answers like, because it's clean. You know, that's not a good excuse for globalization, because you have a clean place to go to. That's like, it just shows you how they indoctrinate these college kids, and even younger, they indoctrinate high school, grade school. We saw, you know, when it comes to like the more perverted stuff and sex, they're after them young. They're after
5
them
years
young.
old now. They want to teach them about what butt love and
Right,
prison
it's
sex.
trendy to teach them about globalization in college, but you know, you have to go after the weird stuff when they're young, and you can manipulate them into
So this
being
way
a
they think
slave.
it's normal. Yeah.
Right. But hey, don't worry, your kids aren't being felt up by the TSA anymore if they're not
And
12.
Common Core is all good. Hey, by the way, bizarre thing is everyone, I guess everyone on the school council here in Cudahy is all for Common Core, every one of them.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All the teachers
Found
are.
out today. Yeah, I know.
Well,
you know, there's a special place in
unfortunately.
hell for those who indoctrinate our kids. And if you don't believe it,
Right,
if
hell,
you're an
in
atheist,
quotes.
if you're an atheist, you're going to turn into a tree, and I hope they print the frickin' Bible on you just
I
because you
want to
deserve
be a
it.
tree. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
there you go.
Uh,
Just don't indoctrinate our children. It's wrong.
And it's a textbook. The textbooks, McGraw Publishing and HarperCollins. You know, that's important to know who owns those things. You know, you start climbing up the top, and you know, it's really the textbooks, what information they have in those textbooks. You know, besides the, you know, Common Core is horrible, a federal thing. What people are learning in Alaska shouldn't be what's being taught in Hawaii. or in Florida or whatnot.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily mean what it is the people aren't necessarily at the same levels. The children, the individuals, people learn at different speeds. The whole country's not at the same exact standard, same level.
The
Go ahead.
teachers should be able to tailor the education towards the age group and their particular class that they have. No two classes are the same, and no 2 years of students are the same. So there's no way they can cookie cut this and expect every student and every group to get the same thing out of it. It's just absolutely disgusting. And then if they don't, too bad. Then you know what? We just accept the answers that they provide as being right, so we can pass them. It's absolutely atrocious. And then they indoctrinate them with these ideologies that they belong to communities and not to their parents, and how to think like a Nazi and argue why Jews are bad, your Nazi commander.
Right.
And then why prostitution should be legal, and your 5-year-old needs to know about these things. I mean, it's disgusting.
What'd you say, Scotty? Dare? Right.
And Dare, the drug enforcement. I don't know if you guys have that in Wisconsin.
Right,
I don't know if that's...
yes. And Just Say No. I had both those programs.
Yeah, so I mean, they want you to rat out your parents if they got drugs, if they got pot, And it's a medicine. When you really come down to it, it's a medicine. I don't, I've had a lot of resistance from some of the guys some of the upper guys in the marijuana movement here, because there's a lot of guys who are just one issue kind of marijuana guys.
Right.
The fact that I'm not a medical patient, then it doesn't matter. So I've been not everybody, but there's been a few guys that look down on me, not giving me any time just because of that fact.
And why couldn't you decide yourself if you choose to? I mean, shouldn't you be able to self-treat your own symptoms? If you wanted to make aspirin out of oak tree bark or whatever it is, you should be able to go scrub some bark off a tree and not be put in jail for it.
And shit.
Yeah, or whatever. You'd be surprised. It probably would work better sometimes, I don't want to sound bizarre, but you'd be surprised.
I understand. No.
All medication is based off of these principles. So why are all the foundation principles of medication not accepted as valid science? I don't understand it. It's bizarre.
And that you can't grow it in your own backyard or in the safety of your own garden on your own property. It's Agenda 21.
Down the door and possibly kill you and shoot you, even though marijuana doesn't kill anyone, but the DEA might.
What were you going to say, Scott?
And when one of the big things too for me was, I was brewing my own fertilizers, forget Roundup and Monsanto's, all their fertilizers. I mean, when you grow weed, there's a lot of chemicals that people use. There's so much chemicals. To be able to grow it organically and not have those chemicals, the herbicides, and not the herbicides, but the fertilizers and the pesticides, to not have those in, that's your health. Like, you should have that choice. If Philip Morris or these guys get their hands on it, that's what's gonna happen with the states legalizing it. These big corporations are gonna get in on it, and they're gonna poison the plants. I think that's a big thing for growing.
So we have talked about that before, like
with Michael Murphy.
You're afraid of, say, like a Monsanto pot, pretty much.
Yeah, not like a GMO modified, but more, because all of our pot now is all crossbred. Everything's crossbred. It's not anything what it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but more the fertilizers and the pesticides that they use on the plants. Just a lot of the just normal growers, they use there's a lot of chemicals used for toning for the roots, the root tone, and there's so much to the plants, and there's wax that's sprayed on the leaf foliage for for food. And this is all not organic. It's just chemicals that they're putting on it. You could taste the difference in some of the weed. You could taste the chemicals if it's not properly cured or.
Well, it's the same thing with food. You can taste the difference in chemicals between organic, natural food, even though the structure, the way popcorn crunches in your mouth, and versus the way it just like foams up like it's like made out of styrofoam cups. It's crazy how organic food tastes so much better.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about, the difference in these pots and the differences of these plants. I'm wondering how much better it is just organic versus like all these chemicals being dumped into some of these different plants.
Well, it's the same thing. Go ahead.
A lot of the guys, you're not supposed to fertilize the last 10 days. So you could there is a big chemical, I've tasted it. Who knows how much I've killed myself by what I've smoked.
Or what you've
you know,
smoked, right? Exactly.
Or what I've smoked, you know, and like to me, like growing, I'm more in like I don't have the money to do it, but I'm more in the idea that we should be eating the weed. Whatever people's take is on that, but it takes 3 times as much weed. So to be able to grow it yourself, you know, where a bag at $50 to make a batch of brownies or some butter or whatnot,
Way too
that's
expensive.
$150.
Right.
Yeah,
protein shakes.
No.
Yeah. I mean, anything could be used. You know, there's so much usage. You know, but the consuming is so much healthier for you. I don't think I'd be able to get into many arguments with people who want to say that smoking is better than consuming it, especially for people who are sick. The consuming is so much safer and just better. I mean, the resin that's on the pipes, it's got to be in your lungs. I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but to me, that's my own personal
Right. No,
that.
well, that's common sense. I mean, it's just the more traditional way to smoke it, and that's obviously, you know, what's been done over time. But yeah, as people find different methods, of course, people are going to be eating it, and you see that obviously in the more legalized locations like Washington and Colorado, where you can go into one of these stores and get like marijuana soda and cookies
lollipops,
and yeah, right,
Jolly
all
Ranchers.
that stuff, and that's like, you know, just a couple states away in some cases, and even in your state of Illinois, they have medicinal marijuana. And you know, I don't know how hard it is to get there. I don't know like what kind of standards you would have to meet to get it, but the fact that, you know, a guy like you that wants to use it and can't, that's kind of messed up. And your state even allows it, and here you are still having to deal with the court case and, you know, all these hoops they're gonna make you jump through. It's gonna be, you know, it's kind of ridiculous.
What's the law there for medicinal marijuana? How many plants are you allowed to grow if you are ill, or do you only have to, or are you required to go to vending?
You're required. There's only supposed to be 12 dispensaries, and they haven't even set any of this up. It's legal, but it's going to be months, if not years, before people start getting cards and starting to really be able to do it. Like we're in Michigan, they have a caregiver. Each patient gets 7 or 8. They could have one. Each patient can have a caregiver, and the caregiver could grow 7 to 9 plants or something like that per patient, and they could have like 9 patients or something under 10. So they could legally grow, you know, depending on how many people they are a caregiver for, and anyone could do it. It's like, but here it's Chicago's so corrupt.
Well, it's Illinois, right? And I
yeah,
mean, they
you know,
fall
like
in
we're
line.
just so corrupt there. Everything.
You know,
So,
Wisconsin's not far behind. Wait, what'd you say?
I'm facing 3 years in jail for this too.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fairly serious, man. You don't want to be sitting for 3 years.
yeah, and I'm gonna be with murderers and rapists, and you know that's so messed up that I'm not really anybody. Like I'm not a criminal. Like I know that. You know that's been the biggest fight. I'm trying to tell people. People that will just plea out and just do this and do that, but I don't want to plea out. I'm not. I've never really taken a stand for anything, and this is like my stand.
No, I mean that's honorable, man, and if it's something you believe in, and I kind of feel the same way. You know, I'm an advocate. You know, it's getting to be that time where this is ridiculous. Let us have our medicine. Let us grow our plants. Stay out of our garden. Stay out of our backyard. Tell the cable man to the F off. You know what I mean? Like, this is getting to be ridiculous. That this is all spurred from the damn cable guy. Like, I mean, that cable guy deserves whatever bad karma comes his way. I hope he has a really bad cable day. That's what I hope.
Yeah,
and who knows if that was even true? Maybe they were using it as an excuse.
I'd say that's true. I'd say that was true, though.
I'm pretty sure it was true. Like, you know, I'm all into conspiracies, but what's interesting is, you know, I feel like there's a conspiracy in the courthouse, like, because I'm doing this nullification now. Like, the judge, you know, they do not like people being pro se. Even when I went to get my papers stamped to put my motions in, the lady wasn't going to stamp my papers. It turns out that when I cross-examined the cop, the transcript lady didn't even record the most important things when I got my transcripts, so that was missing. Well, I find out later that she's married to the head presiding judge of the courthouse, of the divorce court section. So everyone, see, that's the biggest thing, is everyone in that courthouse is paid for by the state, even the public defender. So the public defender, the judge, the transcript lady, who's supposed to be the only court, she's a recorder, because you can't bring a video camera or anything in to actually record what's going on, and the prosecuting attorney are all the state, and we're paid for by the state or the county.
And they're all friends.
And they're all friends.
They're there
all
every day.
Together.
Right.
And then the victim is the state. So how could you possibly get a fair trial when all that's happening? And I said that to one of the public defenders, and she's like, I want to punch you in the face. Because they don't want to hear that either. The public defenders are a joke. Everyone's like, get a public defender. I went through 4 of them. One of them laughed at me. One said that it'll never be legal. Another one said, you can't do a nullification. It's unethical. And I looked at her. I was like, they stripped me naked and put me in a cage for growing medicine. How is that ethical, and questioning the law is unethical? So that's what people don't understand, is the lawyers and the public defenders, you have to do it yourself, and it's really not that hard. There's a lot that you have to learn, but I'm not anything special. I'm not smart. I didn't even finish college or anything. Not that even matters, but I've been able to do it just by my Facebook friends that have been helping me. Law is all definition.
Right,
so
and we have a community of people that I'm sure are willing to help. I mean, once your story gets a little of exposure, I'm sure people are going to be willing to, do whatever they can to help you out, whether it's educate people, educate juries, even if I don't know what's going to happen as far as donating to fines or any of that. I guess, when is the court date or proceedings? What's coming up here in the near future?
Well, the court date is on St. Patrick's Day, so it's perfect for all my pothead friends to remember that day. It's all about being green, smoking green. So that's my trial. I got a jury trial on that day. In Illinois, it's different in every state. The jury selection is on that day. Some states, it's a couple weeks ahead of time. In Chicago, it's just different. They come that day of. So I'm starting to, Monday was my first day going out to the courthouse. I was trying to just test the waters. Next week I'll probably get arrested, but it's just a simple misdemeanor. I don't even care. I'm exercising my free speech to hand out those flyers, not protesting or anything. I don't need a permit. Any of that bullshit. I mean,
yeah. Why should you need a permit to hand out a flyer? That's one of the most ridiculous things ever.
In a taxpayer-funded area, especially if it's just an educational piece. But that whole corrupt court system, we talk about that often in Texas. The judges got caught texting the prosecution how to beat the defense in court. That's how corrupt it is. Walking them through it, how to beat the defense.
Yeah. Absolutely, and what it is, to me, this is what it is. If people start actually not going to jail for victimless crimes, their whole system crumbles. The public defenders, the judges, that will cut the courts in half of what's going through there. So all of them will lose their jobs. And to me, that's what I think it is the most. I mean, I like that picture on Facebook, the little meme of all the different gears, the CIA and the prison system and the pharmaceutical company. Everyone has something to gain by it not being legal. The building materials with the hemp, you got hempcrete, you got hemp oil, you got so much going on with that in a textile. Your first Levi's jeans were hemp and all that stuff. I'm actually going to try to wear a hemp suit to the trial.
There you go. Yeah, it has so many industrial purposes beyond the medicinal, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much that could be lost. And then the nullification is, to me, the sovereignty is the absolute best because you beat them at their game before you're even in court. You're beating them ahead of time through motions and notices and questioning the jurisdiction, questioning the corpus delicti. There's a guy in California, Thornton Peters. He's like an old school, pot activist. He's quite funny if you check him out, but he's all in the thing about men's raw. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but that's a guilty mind. To have a criminal offense, you have to have a guilty mind and know that you're guilty. So he's kind of saying that that's the route to go because there's so many different factions of that sovereignty thing. But the nullification is the easiest and the best for most people. I think that sovereignty is more of like an advanced. It's for more of the advanced people who are more knowledgeable of the law.
More like the mountain man. He's one of the true sovereigns.
Yes, exactly. Santos, he's not 100%. And Santos is a genius. I've watched so many lectures on him just on astrology and everything, theology. He's very smart. But he's big in it too. He's getting into it because that's where I see everything going. That's what our founding fathers were. You know, you look at the old philosophers, Plato, Socrates. They were all sovereign. That's what it's about, is being free, and no one's your master, and that's how it should be. When you vote for somebody, you're voting for someone to be your master.
Right. It's like people have forgotten.
Yeah.
That we're the boss. We're the boss of the government, are we not?
Exactly.
I mean,
we the people.
Is this not America, Scotty? Is this not America? Because it doesn't feel like we're in America anymore. If the listeners out there, can we get is this not America? A collective, is this not America? Like, wherever you go tonight or tomorrow, and somebody does something, just be like, isn't this America, bro? Like, is this not America? Why are there cameras everywhere? Why are we being spied on? Why can't we grow plants? Why are they poisoning our water and air and
vets
food?
to have vaccines.
I mean, is this America? Where are we? This is bizarro world, people. Come on.
Communist China all of a sudden.
This is worse than communist China. This is worse than 1984.
Well, we don't have people jumping off of Apple factories and things.
I had a Chinese exchange student, and he comes every year, and his dad's a communist judge there. And this is how he put it to me. He said, in China, we know we're not free. There's no joke about it. But in America, you think you're free, and you're not really free. So that's the difference, as I see it. I mean, China and Russia, it's corrupt as hell, but they know it.
We have the illusion.
Have belief that we're
it's
free.
All theater. All big movies.
It's all theater. And, that Iron Curtain's going to come out open eventually here. It has to. There's a, as Jordan Maxwell says, he says there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it might be a train. But,
interesting statement, Mr. Maxwell. That it could be true, though. And while we have the last 2 minutes here with you, Scotty, I want to make sure you let people know where they can help you out. If there's anything people can do, let them know. I know you have the Nullification Facebook page, which we'll have to get a link to on the article unless you have the link right offhand. I know you have a Facebook page, though.
Yeah, I have my event is set up. It's I'm not a criminal for growing pot. Help me get a jury nullification. And then my name is Scottie Doughton Thomas Hochstetter. It's a real long one. I wish I had something a little easier, but so you guys can friend me up. I'm not really looking for any money. I just need help coming to the courthouse. Just sharing my event. That's kind of what I'm looking for. These other guys who are doing the nullification, Jason Andrews in California, we need that support at court.
Well, where's the exact courthouse? Because we have a national audience, so if there's going to be people listening in the area,
listeners or ASA listeners or somebody,
in the area, which courthouse is it going to be on St. Patrick's Day?
It's Kane County Drug Court. It's in St. Charles, Illinois. I have talked to the normal and MMA heads of the state, but the thing is with them, if weed gets legalized, they're out of business. So they're not really.
We've heard that.
There's a lot of good people in those organizations. Don't get me wrong, but once again, you look at the top and who's in control, and you look at NORML itself. National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws. There shouldn't be any laws for marijuana. Period. It should just be you should grow your own medicine.
Right. It should. Yeah. You're exactly right. And nullification is very important. We have to stress that it's not just about pot. It's not just about smoking. It's about victimless crimes, and yet all these. Yeah. Look at how this corrupt court case is working in this one city. This is just a magnification of the system, because this is how it is really in every courthouse in America. The state is screwing over the small guy, putting people in jail for basically money. Now, hopefully you don't get the 3 years, and hopefully we get some support out there. And, what if we can get this nullified? Let's get the juries educated. Let's let people know that weed isn't a crime. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a blue state there in Illinois, huh?
I don't know what kind of stage it is.
Isn't that a blue street, like an extremely?
It's
isn't
blue
that where
like
Old
New
Plumber
York.
is
It
from?
has prison bars blue. You know, it's like
Barack
the Yankees. The Yankees uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted my event on Obama's page, because he supports pot, so I thought that was pretty ironic.
He was the first one in line in Colorado, didn't you hear?
Right. To raid them after they legalized it. Right. The feds were there kicking indoors. But, Scottie, if there's not anything else, I really appreciate you coming to hang out with us. We were almost a little worried that we weren't going to get you on, so I'm glad that you came and hang out and were honest about your story. And hopefully some good things will happen, and at least we can help you through it, man, if we can.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I really do. Thank you so much for letting me talk about it.
Hey, no problem, man.
So, and I'm going to win it, so I'll see you on the flip side of that.
Right, just stay in touch,
we'll be
man.
Down there.
All right, guys.
Stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Peace.
All right.
There goes Scottie Hochstetter. Kristan, we might actually, I'm not sure exactly what day St. Patrick's Day is on. I'm sure it's during the week, but maybe we could try to get down there. You know what I mean? It can't be that far. He said it's about 2 hours away.
That bad. We have friends down there too, so
we have Julio and other activists in the closer range. I understand, but so you guys, let's help out Scottie. You know how we feel about marijuana and legalization and just overall
the waste of taxpayer
mandating
dollars
of government. We hate this overreaching of government, and this is another example of corruption in government and the overreaching.
No, I agree with you, Mike. I think that people should be able to do in their home what they like as long as they're not harming or hurting anyone else's individual liberties, if they're being responsible. And if they do have an illness, we should get them treatment, not put them in prison where they can learn how to do real crimes and be cursed the rest of their lives. Because essentially that's what we're doing is we're cursing each person we put in there for a victimless crime, probably for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, because they're not going to, it makes their lives very difficult to pull out of this. And that's why I say, let's hope Scottie doesn't get 3 years
and we gotta
over
listen.
plants.
We have to listen to the rhetoric and what we're telling our children too. We tell them if they do drugs, it will ruin their lives, and then the police come and break down your door, arrest you, and ruin your life. So where's the solution here? If we're, where's the solution? We need to get people help and educate the youth. And we're finding out now in states like Colorado where they legalize it that use in minors goes way down. So anyways, if you guys haven't had a chance to yet, make sure you guys go on down to the rundownlive.com, check out our news articles, share them. If you're looking to support us, you guys can check out the private internet access browser on there and browse the internet anonymously like me and Mike do. Also, if you have a cell phone and you guys haven't yet, make sure that you guys download the Rundown Live app. It's in the Android store, the iTunes store, and it's in the Amazon store. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher, and there's a replay on at, midnight here, and tune in. Thank you guys for listening to us and tune in. And those in the chat room, we love you. You guys stay classy, stay warm, Milwaukee, and fight Common Core. Don't buy into the system.
Sounds good.
And,
all right. Don't forget about truthbroadcastnetwork.com is the home. Encore's on FPRN Radio, 12 a.m. Central, 1 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back tomorrow, probably going to do open line. So we almost did open line today. So if you guys want to call in tomorrow, we're doing open lines. Hardcore Harry's going to be live coming up next. Death of the New World Order is his show, followed by The Average Liberator with Corey Washington. So hang out with us all week, guys. TheRundownLive.com. We love you guys in the chat. Tune in. We'll be back
The Rundown,
tomorrow. Peace.
Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out TheRundownLive.com.
Make sure you subscribe to Liberty Defined on YouTube. Project Liberty Defined.
Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out TheRundownLive.com.